We do have a little bit more on the fiscal cliff. This is, I think, kind of an interesting story. It's not currently, we don't know exactly what will happen if we go over the fiscal cliff, how bad it'll be for the economy, but one result it might have is it might kill millionaires, or at least cause them to die a little bit sooner. This sounds kind of ridiculous, but we have some info. So let's talk very briefly about the estate tax and what will happen with it. Let's bring up the graphic. So currently, the estate tax is 35%, and you are exempted if you have a fortune less than $5 million. But you see that after January 2013, those numbers changed significantly, up to 55%, and you're only exempted if you have less than $1 million. So the people between $1 million and $5 million for family wealth are faced with an interesting decision. If maybe you want to die a little bit sooner and not trigger that increased rate. Because, look, this seems ridiculous, but I have some examples I'm going to go over of similar things happening in different parts of the country. But it's a multi-million-dollar decision that you're making.
And by the way, it's just a little bit larger than that, too, because it's $1 million to $5 million per person. If it's the family, then it's actually $2 million and $10 million. Mm-hmm. Now, you're not going to have the wife and the husband die at the same time. I hope not, right? But just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and so we're partially joking about them like being taken off of life support or something like that. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that I don't know, that violent, I suppose. It could just be a change in paperwork or choosing to change medicine or something. So we have some examples. So people can change the date of their death for pretty ridiculous reasons. So New York hospitals in the first week of 2000 registered 50.8% more deaths than in the last week of 1999 because apparently people wanted to die in a new exciting millennia, I guess. And so they held out for a week. In Australia, back in...
No, they died... Oh, I see. They died in the first
in 2000.
Week. I got you.
Yeah,
because they wanted to say they lived for 7 decades, 8 decades,
exactly,
among other things. It's just a quick note here in the middle of the story. It's really interesting because in Chinese culture, the number 4 stands for death for whatever reason, right? 8 is success financially, 4 is death. More Chinese people die in April than any other month, and more Chinese people die on days ending in 4, 14, 24 than the other days. It's an amazing psychological phenomenon. So, I mean, paperwork is part of the reason. Yeah. Subconsciously, these things might also matter.
Yeah, a lot of it, when you're, in your last days, it can be sort of psychological. And if you know that living for an extra week is going to cost your family $2 million, maybe that leads you to not hold on.
Yeah, I'm not buying an ounce of this.
Well, okay, so there was a paper. This is from the University of Pittsburgh.
I buy the paperwork part of it, no question.
Yeah.
You don't think that they'll be pulling the plug?
I don't think they'll be pulling the plug, and I don't think you can make yourself die.
I think that you can make yourself live, and the reverse of that is not making yourself live. So the term for this is death elasticity, which I didn't even know there was a term for. And this is a paper by Stuart Mendenhall from 2008, and he found that...
Did you say University of Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
And it's Mendenhall from University of Pittsburgh.
No.
Fascinating.
I'm not familiar.
Okay, John doesn't watch sports.
Yeah,
all right,
not really.
Move forward.
They found that there's not a lot of evidence, it's not overwhelming for this death elasticity, but apparently every $10,000 in available tax savings increases the chance of dying in the low tax period by 1.6%. And we're talking about millions of dollars.
Yeah, well, I mean, from a paperwork point of view, I suspect that there's probably, you can fudge a little bit, you can not call the police for a couple of days, or you can.
God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Who knows how they do it, but it's possible. So look, I'm more of a believer than Ben is. That Chinese thing has always tripped me out, and it's just one of the most amazing things. And it's amazing what human beings can do with their mind. And of course, there's a limit to it. I mean, you got cancer. Okay, or you get a heart attack on a certain day. It is what it is, and that's 99.8% of the cases. Or maybe 98% of the cases, but in that 1.6% or whatever, it's amazing what the human mind / shoddy paperwork can do.
Yeah,
right.
You just accidentally, the pillow is just held in place for a few seconds. Whoops, I'm richer.
Right. No, but it's interesting in the estate tax. First of all, don't kill your family members because I just read today that Obama is likely to give in on the estate tax. It'll still be the low rate, so don't kill
By the way,
Grandpa.
Obama's likely to give on it. What he wants, he doesn't even want to go back to the initial rates. He doesn't want to go back to 55% and $1 million. I think he's proposed 45% and $3.5 million.
That was his offer, but I just read today that he's willing to take the Republican.
Right, because that actually he might lose Democratic support on, because Democrats don't want that either.
because incredibly rich people also give to Democrats, and they also care about their estate tax. So on other issues, they might say, hey, listen, social justice, but wait a minute, the estate tax, we're talking millions, sometimes billions of dollars. So take it easy on that. So, and then finally,
by the way, for all the people who complain about the estate tax, what that essentially means is if it's $5 million, even if it's $3.5 million, right? Even if Obama got his way, it's $3.5 million. Like, who has an estate of more than $3.5 million?
Well, it's I think 0.3% of the country.
I was going to say it's less than 0.5% of the country. Yeah. So you're fine. You're exempt. You're going to get all the money.
But that 99.7% is positive that they're going to be in that 0.3%.
Totally. That's why they've tried to reframe it as a death tax, not an estate tax. I know I don't have an estate. I know what dying is, though. Maybe that affects me.
Yeah, and finally, there was this brief period during I think it was during the Bush administration, where the estate tax went to zero. Okay,
right.
Because of the way that they structured it, et cetera. It didn't last that long, but there was, I think, about a 9-month period, if I'm not mistaken. And one of the richest guys in the country died in that 9-month period. Their family had to pay no estate tax. Okay, I don't know if he willed his death. I don't know if they were looking forward to it. But they hit the jackpot. I mean, they literally saved billions of dollars by their father passing away in that right window.
Yeah, going by this math, that raised his death chances by like 10,000%. He was doomed.